Hello children, I hope you all are happy and safe today. Welcome to our special English hour. Here, every day we will learn something new in a fun and exciting way. Are you all ready to have some fun? Let's go. Do you all remember the tongue twister that we tried in our previous? I saw a kitten eating chicken in the kitchen. Now I want all of you to repeat this after me. I saw a kitten eating chicken in the kitchen. I saw a kitten eating chicken in the kitchen. Now, let us increase the speed a little bit. Make sure you try to say this with me. I saw a kitten eating chicken in the kitchen. I saw a kitten eating chicken in the kitchen. Now, it's time to go full speed. And we have to say this, yes, 5 times. Are you all ready? Let's go. I saw a kitten eating chicken in the kitchen. I saw a kitten eating chicken in the kitchen. I saw a kitten eating chicken in the kitchen. I saw a kitten. That's all right. But we are getting better at this. And I'm sure with practice, we will all be able to say this 5 times with the same speed. I hope you all like saying the tongue twister with me. Now, we all know that words are very important for a language. So, let's all learn some new words. I want all of you to listen to these words very carefully. Our first word is inclination. 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 Our second word is fluttering. 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 Our third word is restricted. 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 Our fourth word is snatch. 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 Our fifth and the last word is contemptuous. 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 Now, I will read these words for you once again. And this time, I want all of you to write these words down in your notebooks and try to say them out loud with me. Are you all ready? Let's go. Our first word is inclination. Our second word is fluttering. Our third word is restricted. Our fourth word is snatch. And the last word is contemptuous. Children, let me ask you all a question. Do you like animals? We all love animals, right? Let me ask you another question. Do you have any pet animals at home? I have a pet fish. Her name is Goldie. I take care of her. I give her healthy food. I sing to her. I talk to her. I clean her tank. And when she's unwell, I take her to the doctor. This brings me to my next question. What would you do if you see a hurt and helpless animal on the street? Would you ignore it and walk away? No, right? What we will do is we will ask our elders to help us take care of the animal. This tells us that we should always take care of animals. How do you feel when you help these animals? We feel very, very good, right? Let me tell you all something. I am amazed by the fact that they all love us back equally and also protect us. I had this one dog in my building that I always used to pet. And you won't believe, when I was a little girl, this dog used to walk me to my school. Yes, this tells us how it's not just our pet animals and birds that we love, but all the animals and birds deserve all the love in the world. Today, we will read a chapter where a little boy tries to save a bird. Please open page number 64 of your English Bal Bharati textbook. If you have a textbook, point your finger on the words as I read them. But if you don't have a textbook, please don't worry. Listen to me very carefully. Now, while we are reading the chapter, I want all of you to look for the 5 new words that we learned earlier today. The name of our chapter is A Crow in the House. The young crow had fallen from its nest and was fluttering about on the road in danger of being crushed by a cart or a tonga or seized by a cat when I picked it up and brought it home. It was in a sorry condition, beak gaping and head dropping, and we did not expect it to live. But grandfather and I did our best to bring it round. We fed it by prizing its beak gently open with a pencil, pushing in a little bread and milk, and then removing the pencil to allow it to swallow. We varied this diet with occasional doses of grandmother's homemade plum wine, and as a result, the young crow was soon on the road to recovery. Here we saw how a crow had fallen from its nest and was fluttering about on the road. Fluttering is the continuous and fast and unsteady movement of the wings. This occurs when a bird is not able to fly properly. Once the crow had fallen from its nest, it could have been crushed by any vehicle that was passing on the road. But luckily, a little boy notices his bird and wants to help it. He picks it up and brings him home. And at home, he and his grandfather try their best to help this bird. Sometimes they would open its beak to feed it, and sometimes they would feed it their grandmother's homemade plum wine. And because they was taking such good care of it, the bird was on its road to recovery, which means that the bird was getting better. He was offered his freedom, but he did not take it. Instead, he made himself at home in the house. Grandmother, Aunt Mabel, and even some of the grandfather's pets objected. But there was no way of getting rid of the bird. He took over the administration of the house. We were not sure that he was male, but we called him Caesar. Before long, Caesar was joining us at meal times besides finding his own grubs or beetles in the garden. He danced about on the dining table and gave us no peace until he had been given his small bowl of meat and soup and vegetables. He was always restless, fidgeting about, investigating things. He would hop across the table to empty a matchbox of its content, or rip the daily paper to shreds, or overturn a vase of flowers, or tug at the tail of one of the dogs. Soon the crow was all well, but when the boy tried to let him go, he chose to stay with him instead. Yes, the crow wanted to live with the boy in his house. All the animals in the house were not happy with it. But the crow just wouldn't leave. Soon they named him Caesar. Caesar used to join them on their dining table for meals. He used to keep tapping his feet until someone fed him. In fact, he was always snooping around and trying to create a mess, sometimes overturning the flower vase and sometimes tugging on the poor dog's tail. That crow will be the ruin of us, grumbled grandmother, picking marigolds off the carpet. Can't you keep him in a cage? We did try keeping Caesar in cage, but he was so angry and objected with such fierce cawing and flapping that it was better for our nerves and peace of mind to give him the run of the house. He did not show any inclination to join the other crows in the banyan tree. Grandfather said this was because he was really a jungle crow, a raven of sorts, and probably felt a little contemptuous of very ordinary carrion cows. But it seemed to me that Caesar, having grown used to living with humans on equal terms, had become snobbish and did not wish to mix with his own kind. He would even squabble with Harold the Hornbill. Perching on top of Harold's cage, he would peck at the big bird's feet, whereupon Harold would swear and scold and try to catch Caesar through the bars. Now that Caesar was creating such a mess in the house, they even tried to put him in a cage. But he started flapping his wings and cawing so loudly that they had to let him go. In fact, he did not even show any inclination to live with the other crows. Inclination means that he did not have the desire or wish to live with the other crows. This is when grandfather told him that maybe it's because he is a jungle crow and he might be a little contemptuous of the other crows. Contemptuous means that he thought he was better than all the other crows, and this is why he showed a little disrespect towards them. That's when the boy told him that maybe it's not because he's just a jungle crow. It's also because that he has been used to living with the humans so much that now he is a little snobbish and does not want to live with the other birds. In time, Caesar learned to talk a little, as ravens sometimes do, in a cracked, throaty voice. He would sit for hours outside the window, banging on the glass with his beak and calling, "Hello, hello." He seemed to recognize the click of the gate when I came home from school and would come to the door with a hop, skip and jump saying, "Hello, hello." I had also taught him to sit on my arm and say, "Kiss, kiss," while he placed his head gently against my mouth. On one of Aunt Mabel's visits, Caesar alighted on her arm and cackled, "Kiss, kiss." Aunt Mabel was delighted and possibly flattered and leant forward for a kiss. But Caesar's attention shifted to my aunt's gleaming spectacles, and thrusting at them with his beak, he knocked them off. Aunt Mabel never was a success with pets. Pet or pest? Grandmother insisted that Caesar was a pest, in spite of his engaging habits. If he had restricted his activities to our own house, it would not have been so bad. But he took to visiting neighboring houses and stealing pens and pencils, hair ribbons, combs, keys, shuttlecocks, toothbrushes, and false teeth. He was especially fond of toothbrushes and made a collection of them on top of the cupboard in my room. Most of the neighbors were represented in our house by a toothbrush. Toothbrush sales went up that year. So did grandmother's blood pressure. Caesar spied on children going into the baniya's shop and often managed to snatch sweets from them as they came out. Clothes pegs fascinated him. Neighbors would return from the bazaar to find their washing lying in the mud and no sign of the pegs. These two found their way to the top of my cupboard. It was Caesar's gardening activities that finally led to disaster. He was helping himself to our neighbor's beans when a stick was flung at him, breaking his leg. I carried the unfortunate bird home, and father and I washed and bandaged his leg as best as we could. But it would not mend. Caesar hung his head and no longer talked. He grew weaker day by day, refusing to eat. An occasional sip of grandmother's homemade wine was all that kept him going. One morning, I found him dead on the sofa, his legs stiff in the air. Poor Caesar. His antisocial habits had led to his early end. I dug a shallow grave in the garden and buried him there, along with all the toothbrushes and clothes pegs he had taken so much trouble to collect. This story is written by Ruskin Bond and it is taken from grandfather's private zoo. One day, when Caesar was trying to steal beans from another neighbor, a stick was thrown at him. It hit its leg and broke it. In spite of trying everything to mend it, it did not mend. Caesar started growing weaker and weaker every day. He refused to eat or talk. And one fine morning, they found that he had passed away. Now, it was Caesar's antisocial behavior that led to his untimely death. Antisocial means the kind of activities and behavior that is not accepted in our society. For example, stealing things. The little boy dug a grave in his backyard and buried him. We all miss him deeply. I hope you all like this chapter. Now let us learn something new. Today we will talk about compliments. In grammar, a compliment is a word or a phrase that is necessary to give meaning to a given sentence or expression. There are two types of compliments. The first one is subject complement. Now, subject complement is a word or a phrase that is used after a verb and it describes the subject. Let me give you all an example. I am hungry. Here, I is the subject, am is the verb, and hungry is the subject complement. It's the word hungry that gives meaning to the entire sentence and is the word hungry that describes the subject I. Let me give you another example. My sister became a teacher. Here, my sister is the subject, became is the verb, and teacher is the subject complement. Here, it's the word teacher that describes the subject, my sister. It's the word teacher that gives meaning to the entire sentence. Now, let us do a small activity. On your screen, you will see a few sentences. You have to read these sentences very carefully and identify the subject complement in each of these sentences. All the best! Now let us look at the answers. In the first sentence, the trees looked greener after the rains. The subject complement used is greener. Here is the word greener that gives meaning to the entire sentence. The second sentence is, the snake is venomous. The subject complement used here is venomous. It's the word venomous that gives meaning to the entire sentence, and it describes the subject, that is the snake. Our third sentence is, Tina is a cute little girl. Here, the phrase cute little girl is what describes the subject, Tina. So, cute little girl is the subject complement. Our last sentence is, the mountain seems magnificent. Here, the subject complement used is magnificent. I hope you all like this session. Today, we saw how a little boy tried to take care of an injured bird. Now, I want all of you to ask your family and friends whether they have ever tried to help an animal. If yes, I want all of you to write their story in your notebooks. And always remember to be kind, not just to humans, but everyone else. Now, I will see you all in the next session. Until then, stay home, stay safe, and bye-bye.